Are we about to see a parabolic rally from the altcoin markets as XRP leads the way, up over 40% over the last 7 days? Will more altcoins follow? Is the next one to pop ICP? Is it near protocol? Is it Ethereum? Is Bitcoin going to continue to go up? We're going to talk about that today. Also, we have some news from TradFi. We have another speaker announced. This is a big one as well at the Bitcoin Nashville conference. We have SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce talking about potentially looking at bringing staking back into the Ethereum ETF application process. We also have one of the largest banks in the United States are launching their own stablecoin and what that means for the rest of the cryptocurrency markets, and a potential fourth NFT drop from former President Donald Trump. What does that mean for the NFT markets? Could this single-handedly revive the non-fungible token space? We'll have that discussion on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
I'm not doing the Ola, but hi.
I try to get it all out of Ashley. Sorry, guys. Anyways, I'm not going to do it either, so I don't blame her. But welcome. Today is day 5 of No Robin. He went from big to medium, and today officially he is small Rob. As you missed more than 5 days at the studio,
You're small Rob?
you're small.
Oh.
It's fair, right?
I thought he's always been low Rob, but
You know, we do have my boy Forrest joining us for the 5th straight show. Always love having this man on. Love his insights, and love when he sparks some drama on X there for us. Interesting post yesterday. I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about, right? With the blocking people.
Oh yeah, just having a little fun.
I was reading that. I was like, did he get hacked? Because Forrest is a pretty mellow guy, and doesn't sound like something you say. But I'm like, I know my man Forrest is very passionate, and you've been beating the drum about the bullish narrative and the bullish price action of crypto and Bitcoin, and of course all the perma bears. It's different than looking at a smaller time frame. Like, look, we have potential downside coming, but I think in the long run, a majority of people, at least the people that have been in the space, that study the space, they're perma bulls in the long term. And so you get these price dips to $52,000, $53,000, $55,000. And then you get all the crazy people said, I told you so. It's going to go lower. It's going to go to 20. It's going to go to $10,000. I feel like we're all on the same page here. We're probably never going to see a sub 40K Bitcoin again, unless some massive black swan event happens. That could have been on Saturday, something like that potentially happening. And then we also are going to share some news on more people that are becoming, voicing their support for former President Donald Trump and why that's important for your portfolio and the crypto markets. But let's start here with the ETFs. And I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again today. We were all wondering, are they going to buy the dip? Question answered. They bought the dip. Last week, over $1 billion of inflows. Then we said, okay, well, now that price has rebounded, are they going to continue to buy? And we got that answer also. And the answer is yes. So not only did we see yesterday over $300 million worth of inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETF, or 2 days ago, but yesterday we saw another 420, almost $500 million of inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETF, which we can assume pushed the price of Bitcoin up to $66,000. We are currently sitting at 64,347, and we'll get into a Bitcoin chart here in a little bit. But taking a look at the inflows here from CoinGlass, you want to look at the row beneath the highlighted green. You can see here BlackRock led the way again with $260 million of inflows. Fidelity, $61 million. ARK came in at 30. You had Valkyrie, VanEck, Bitwise, Invesco, Franklin Templeton. They all saw inflows, and we saw a goose egg from Grayscale. So no outflows, no inflows, which brought a cumulative total to $422 million. The last 3 trading days, we've seen over 300 million of inflows into the Bitcoin spot ETF. And then we have this article as well. Bitcoin price rallied to 65K, fueled by complete exhaustion from sellers. Forrest, are you seeing anything on the Bitcoin chart, or what are your thoughts on the continued inflows we're seeing from the spot ETF? Do you see this thing sustaining and continuing for maybe the next couple weeks leading into the Bitcoin convention? What are your thoughts? And is there anything on the chart that shows you that yes, the sellers are exhausted, not only with the Germany, but just your ebbs and flows of the markets, the sellers in the market? What are your thoughts on those things?
Hey, sure, I can share my screen here and we can cover a chart real quick. So this is a Bitcoin chart. So all we've had thus far is just a revalidation of our range, right? We have come up and made a new high. Let me zoom out or just clean this up just a little bit. Or zoom in rather a little bit so people can see. We had a range revalidation, which we talked about. We said that's very bullish if we get back inside our range above $59,000 to $60,000. Then we took out in just one go in like one or two candles here. We took out 63, 64K, which is a big resistance level, and now we're kind of consolidating above it. Don't be surprised, right? Whenever you get these big candles. Big candle 2 days ago shot from 60 to 64. From a technical analysis standpoint, right? Here's another one right here. There's something called like fair value gaps, and just essentially we blasted through the order book so quickly that a lot of supply probably didn't have a chance to come on the market and sell at these prices. People kind of just backed up. You had a lot of short squeezes going on as well. Funding rate was still negative, so the shorts, were the longs were getting paid by the shorts to short, and people were still shorting into this strength and getting liquidated on the way up. So an example of what I think could happen, and what I wouldn't want, you don't want to freak out if this does happen, is you have this big strong candle and then the deep pullback into the lower half of that candle right here. So we have this big daily candle. Don't be surprised if we come back down to 61, 62 to test. Is that going to happen? Am I saying, I'm bearish and think that's a high likelihood? Not necessarily. I could see us just consolidating above 60, 63, 64 and not going back down for that. But it's something to be aware of. There's certainly precedent for that happening. Even on a larger time frame, we zoom out in the larger scheme of our correction, right? We saw this huge gap here, right? Then we filled in this range, and then this latest correction, came down towards the latter, the bottom half of this big move here. So it wouldn't be out of the normal to even retest 59.60 and create this big inverse head and shoulders, which would be still a bullish pattern. So we're in a situation where short-term trading has become a little bit more difficult. Like the obvious easy thing to do was just to position when we revalidated. If you positioned bullish when we revalidated, you have so much wiggle room on your longs right now that they're just very unlikely to get challenged on the entry points, let alone the liquidation points. Otherwise, if you bought down here, you're in great shape. But if you're FOMOing in off of this huge move because you were sidelined, you were too bearish, now you're in a situation where you might have to go underwater, and then obviously we break below 59K. That's bad news bears. But yeah, I'm pretty bullish overall. I think it's fairly likely that we've just retested the mid range too. Like that's pretty normal, right? Off of our revalidation over here, we did the same thing. We came down, we pumped through it. So, normally what you would want to see and what you would expect here is some form of a correction, right? A push through the mid range and then continuation higher. So that is my base case. I think it's a pretty straightforward one. Pay attention to how we react towards the top of the range. You could also get a pullback there, kind of create this, inverse head and shoulders. A lot of things that can happen here. Going to be very choppy along the way, I have a feeling. But generally bullish on altcoins, generally bullish on Bitcoin here. It's all about positioning and risk management here. If you're going to FOMO in on high leverage here, yeah, the market could take you out pretty easily if it decides to see a correction, especially with TradFi and stocks crashing today. Gold is down, silver's down, the S&P 500 is down, NASDAQ is down, NVIDIA is down like 5+%, I think. So, when TradFi is correcting, of course, Bitcoin's probably going to see some de-risking as well. So don't be surprised if that occurs.
Forrest, I want to share this. You posted this on X. You put interesting, and you shared here the current Bitcoin setup. And then in this little box here, I'm assuming this is the Elliott wave, correct?
It's a Wyckoff
Wyckoff
reaccumulation.
for distribution. Okay, so can you maybe talk through this and what does this mean? And do you see this playing out? And if it does, what is the back end of this target here to the upside on the far right here that you're kind of eyeing?
I'm not a Wyckoff person. I just know that there's a variety of Wyckoff schematics that tend to play out in markets
I mean, this
fairly,
looks pretty.
with
This sorry to cut
pretty
you off, Forrest,
accurately.
but this looks pretty. I mean, at least the trending channel here, and then the big dip below the support line, and then a rise up and a potential accumulation, right, or a little bit of downside, and then it says here jumping across the creek. I mean, this looks pretty spot on. So I'm curious if this thing does play out. What's that upper range target that you're maybe eyeing, or maybe that the pattern is saying?
Yeah, so I mean, if this thing plays out and we break to all-time highs for Bitcoin, my initial target's going to be somewhere around $80,000 to $90,000. We'll fine tune that along the way, depending on where our final kind of lows are, and we'll take some measured moves and whatnot. But yeah, I wouldn't get too excited and think that we're going to just jump again. I want to reiterate, because the ETFs change the way Bitcoin trades. You had so much Bitcoin bought just recently in the last month or two, or really in the last month, below 60K.
Yeah.
There are a ton of people who bought Bitcoin under 60K. If Bitcoin goes to $90,000 in the next month or two, there's a ton of people that are up 50%, and they're going to rebalance their portfolios and take profits. And we probably see a pullback. It's just, I don't believe yet, especially with the ETFs, that Bitcoin is going to move in an extremely violent manner where it's just going to rip to 150K in like a month. That's the type of price action we saw in previous market cycles. It's the type of price action we saw in 2017 where it just ripped from like $1,000 to $19,000 in a year. I don't think we're at that level of volatility in Bitcoin right now. That doesn't mean that I'm not bullish on it. Doesn't mean that it can't rip upwards, but I think you really want to take one target at a time with Bitcoin because it's trading with these ETFs now. So I think if it runs to 80 to 90K, take some profits, or, unless you just have like a super long-term vision for Bitcoin, you're just a hodler, that's fine. But like on some trades, right? If you're long on some trades and altcoins kind of follow Bitcoin, and Bitcoin jumps up to 90K, it wouldn't be unrealistic to take some profits. It wouldn't be a bad idea, rather, to take some profits and then look to reaccumulate lower. But yeah, 80, 90K. I want to be as conservative as possible with my targets breaking out of this range. And then if I get surprised to the upside, that's a beautiful thing. That's great. We can jump back in on some trades and make money that way.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've had some comedic relief on the show, and well, I got two real good ones. Forrest, what is the one thing that detractors of Bitcoin, Elizabeth Warren, Brad Sherman, those guys always say Bitcoin is only used for what? Well, what's the term they always use?
Wait, what
Well, when they try to prove a point, saying, "Oh, Bitcoin is only used by
criminals," right?
Criminals, right? Okay. So, what's really funny, they say some stories or some endings write themselves. Current United States Senator Bob Menendez, who was one of those people who said Bitcoin is the ideal choice for criminals, was just convicted for taking bribes in gold and cash. I just couldn't help but to laugh at the story. The dude is convicted for taking bribes, so he's essentially a criminal in gold and cash, but has been pounding the drum about how only criminals use Bitcoin. Well, Mr. Menendez, how come you didn't use Bitcoin? I wonder why. And then we had this absolute banger here from. Did you see this, by the way, Forrest?
Yeah.
So here we have, so this is Donald Trump on his Truth Social, throwing a little shade at Elon Musk, right? Saying Elon came to the White House and I was president. He was asking for help on many of his subsidized projects. And he said, he kind of threw some shade at him, like electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, yada, yada, yada. I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. To which the governor of California reposted and said, you bent the knee. And then Elon Musk, he fired back. And let me exit this picture here so you can see Mr. Musk's reply. So which Elon replied, you never get off your knees. And so this is the world's richest man going back and forth and talking crap to the governor of California. I just thought that was so funny. Elon is, that's why people love him, man. He's just, feels like he's one of the guys, you know, just like not politically correct, just says what's on his mind, super smart guy. And so I thought that was pretty funny. And then we have this big announcement here. So Cantor Fitzgerald CEO, so Cantor Fitzgerald worth around $13.2 billion. He is going to be speaking at the Bitcoin Nashville conference next week, which Rocco and Robin will 100% be there. I am still trying to move them some things around. I'm supposed to be taking my family vacation at that time, but I'm trying to see if I can move some dates around so I can go as well. But they'll be there for sure. And I'm curious, the people from our chat, if you're going to be at Bitcoin Nashville, put a 1 in the chat. And so this is going to be probably for us, right? The biggest Bitcoin convention we've ever had, right? We're in a bull market. Yeah. Former and potential future president speaking, another candidate speaking. You have other senators, congressmen. Now you have giants like this gentleman here, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, speaking at the Bitcoin conference. What's your now for the people who try to make money off narratives or make money off news, right? What are you expecting from the price action of Bitcoin? And if you were to throw your best educated guess out there, do you think as more hype builds up over the next week for this conference, maybe more things are announced? We know David Bailey, right? The CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, the company that hosts the Bitcoin conference every single year. He has said there's going to be some really big announcements at the convention. Do you think it might be a good spot to maybe put in a long position on BTC? Do you see if any big news happens, maybe Trump comes out and says, hey, if I'm elected president, we're going to start buying Bitcoin as a reserve asset? Who knows what those announcements could be, but could we be making money on this by potentially entering into some long positions? Or do you think it might be the buy the rumor, build some hype, and then as soon as news hits or the conference gets closer, we start seeing price go down? Well, what are your thoughts?
Historically, I believe, and I don't have like the back test to back this up, completely, but generally, if I'm not mistaken, Bitcoin prices historically dumped during Bitcoin conferences. Obviously, this is a big one. I wouldn't be trading this as a catalyst. There's really you want a catalyst, you've got to think like what's going to reduce supply or increase demand. And I don't think that, this short of Trump, saying that he's going to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. I don't think that there's really a big move to occur as a result of this Bitcoin conference. And if he does come out and say that, you could just be listening to Trump live and then long immediately when he says that, because price would, probably react pretty nicely off of it. Look, I'm bullish anyways. So I want to be long going into this regardless, but not for the reason of the Bitcoin conference. I just don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things for Bitcoin's price. It's Bitcoin's over $1 trillion asset. I don't think the conference and some speakers are going to move the needle on it. I think buyers are buying and sellers are selling, and the market's going to shake out. I don't know anybody who's selling Bitcoin because of this, and I don't think a ton of people are going to be buying Bitcoin just because of a conference. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think material players in the market are bidding Bitcoin just because of the conference. But could be wrong.
You think having someone like Trump there speaking, we're going to get some new eyes on our space, people that are loyalists to Donald Trump, and maybe some other people that are there that have never maybe even given it time to look into Bitcoin or understand Bitcoin, and they see it from time to time on mainstream media. Maybe they tune in. Maybe they listen to his keynote speech. Maybe it piques their interest. Do you think something like that could potentially happen?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be like a net positive in terms of onboarding new people and new eyes and just validating the asset class further, right? Like, but also I think Bitcoin's in terms of like awareness, it's pretty saturated. It's pretty out there. Like people have heard the term Bitcoin. People know what Bitcoin is for the most part. I know like there's a lot of people that are just like completely financially illiterate and they just don't pay attention to markets or financial instruments at all, for whatever reason. And yeah, they may still just not really care about Bitcoin, but those people probably aren't investing anyways. Yeah, I think it could be like Trump being there is a big deal, right? Don't get me wrong. Like it's definitely going to draw a lot of eyes and a lot of attention. But I'm not necessarily thinking that it's going to be like a major catalyst, but definitely net beneficial for the space moving forward. I don't necessarily think like price is going to go vertical leading into this and then dump and be like a buy the rumor, sell the news type catalyst event. I think it's just going to be kind of an accelerator, but not in a massive way. I think it's just going to be a net positive thing that is beneficial to Bitcoin in the long run. But I'm not expecting Bitcoin to jump to 120K just because Trump's going to the Bitcoin conference or anything like that.
Damn it. Just kidding. For me, I think about, I try to put myself in other people's shoes. It's hard to kind of, remove the fact that, hey, we understand the space. We're in the space. We have a freaking business. You have one. We have one here at the studio. You watching. I'm sure this is not the only show you watch or the only information you get, whether it's on YouTube, mainstream media, reading news, whatever the case may be. But to the average person, again, you might have heard about Bitcoin through a friend. You might have seen the ticker. You might have seen a headline, whether it's good or bad. And it might not have piqued your interest, right? And then you get this confirmation, and I don't know if the correct term here is confirmation bias, but someone you follow, someone you trust, someone you love, whether it's right or wrong, I'm not going to go down that road, and they essentially kind of put their stamp of approval on it by A, showing up to the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world, and B, giving a speech there, accepting crypto and Bitcoin as donations, talking about Bitcoin at all his rallies and cryptocurrency and how it's going to change the future. It's like you hear about it enough and you can only brush it to the side so much until you finally say, okay, fine. What the hell is this thing? I've been in that situation before. You see a certain ad or a certain video plastered everywhere. And first time you see it, you're like, yeah, okay. And it pops up on your timeline again. You're like, okay, this is interesting. Again, and eventually like, all right, what is this thing, right? People keep talking about Toncoin, right? What is this thing? Cool, yeah, okay, whatever. Bam, it starts going parabolic. You're like, okay, well, what the hell's going on here? I think we're going to see something similar. And I agree with you, Forrest. I don't think it's going to immediately translate to 10 million people going out and buying Bitcoin right away and pushing the price up to $100,000, $120,000. But at the end of the day, we're still in our mass adoption phase as far as we're trying to onboard new people. You got to understand, this is a technology that is not something you can just pick up a book and read and learn in one day. It takes time. It takes effort. You got to really, if you really want to understand it as an investment, you want to understand how it works. You want to understand what makes it so unique, what makes it so, kind of like a precious metal. These are all things that people have to do. And if even what comes out of this convention and all the people they're bringing on to speak, even if it's just piquing their curiosity, piquing their interest to learn more about it, because for me personally, I came into this space to make money. I saw the gains people were making. I came in, I lost a lot of money, but I decided to stick around and learn. And once you stick around and learn and you truly start seeing and reading and understanding the way the financial system is now, where we're going, and what is currently available, it's really hard pressed not to be extremely bullish. I don't know what other form of how invested we are into the space than spending all this money building out a studio and doing a cryptocurrency podcast. And so we're all in on this thing. And I can't imagine how many more people are going to be exposed to this to the point where they want to learn about it. They enter the space, they buy their first Bitcoin, they stick around because they understand the importance of something like Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So super bullish, super excited. And then I want to kind of shift gears here. Before I shift gears, I want to give a big thank you to today's channel sponsor, Radix. Radix is bringing today's show to you. They're one of the top layer one DeFi protocols in the space. We've had their founder and CEO on our show multiple times. We look forward to bringing them on again. And so if you want to learn more about Radix, their ecosystem, what they're doing, and how they're looking to change DeFi, visit radixdlt.com. There is a link in the description of this video. So big thank you to Radix for being a longtime supporter of Sin City Crypto. Now, Grayscale. Interesting here for us. A new decentralized AI fund that'll be made up by BitTensor, Filecoin, LivePeer, Near Protocol, and Render. With these percentages are the weightings, right? So majority, over 60%, is going to be in Filecoin and Near Protocol, followed by Render, and then LivePeer, and then BitTensor. What are your thoughts here, Forrest? And could this be potential, big catalyst for positive price action for these 5 cryptocurrencies here that are going to be in this this AI basket?
Yeah, I think there's we definitely saw prices of these pump this morning off of this news, and then we've kind of been in a dip today. I'm actually looking to pick up some Render like right now as we speak because the chart's looking pretty solid. Kind of like an inverse, bottoming pattern, inverse head and shoulders kind of going on. So like literally as we speak, I'm kind of just gonna put this trade in. Sorry, just we're bouncing back here on the lows, so I kind of just want to get the trade in. I've also bought some Tau this morning just off of the news, and it kind of jerked up and then right back down on the crash. Didn't see the actual breakdown of the allocations. Tau is only a 3% allocation, so I don't know how big of an effect it'll have. But I think the one here that you want to pay attention to is Render, and which is kind of a risky one with the weakness that we're seeing out of NVIDIA lately. The two have seemed to be, fairly correlated recently. And NVIDIA is getting, beat up, on, some regulation coming down the pipeline in terms of chips. I don't know specifically what it is. But yeah, I think NVIDIA is down quite a bit today. But who knows? Maybe that could also, end up maybe this news could help Render regardless, and I think Render's pretty in a pretty decent spot from a charting perspective. So yeah, I just picked some up here on mobile.
Cool. And I had this post here from Santiment talking about the 3 most notable altcoins seeing address activity rising, and Render is one of them. Render, Aave, and MakerDAO. What do they all have in common? AI and decentralized finance. And of course, the latter two being the Ethereum ecosystem. We know the whole RWA narrative, but going back to this here, Forrest, does this kind of tell you that, there's a lot of people talking about, hey, the AI narrative has cooled off, it's died down. Does this kind of tell you that actually the AI narrative is just really starting to heat up again?
I think AI is something that's going to just keep coming back around. This cycle's been pretty much meme coins and AI. AI is beat up really bad right now. And again, it feels risky because I think a lot of it's been correlated to that big NVIDIA run up. And again, NVIDIA is kind of getting beat up today. But if it bounces back or holds the levels that it's at and we don't see a crash in some of these, like NVIDIA and AMD and whatnot, or AI kind of, stocks, we could see AI run again, and this is definitely something. This Grayscale fund is definitely something that could provide some demand and buy pressure. So yeah, I think all of these look good to me, but particularly Render. The Render chart looks nice. I haven't actually had a chance to take a peek at the Near chart. I was going to do that in just a second, just to take a peek in case it does look good. But I'm a little less.
You want to do that now?
Interested. Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like actually. So I'm just gonna stay out of Near just based on the chart, but let me share this real quick. Yeah. So the thing with Near here, and it does have, it had a great revalidation, and actually another kind of like AI play that I did get into that isn't in the fund, surprisingly, is Arweave. I'm surprised they didn't put Arweave in that, which is super weird. But this chart actually looks very similar to Arweave. This is Near Protocol, and what we had was just a very clean test of our range, a break below it, similar to Bitcoin, and then a revalidation. And when that revalidated, that would have been your trigger to get into near. Now that we're at our midpoint, I'm not interested. We've got a lot of room to potentially come back down, even despite this news. This news maybe drives us to the top of our range, but it's just too risky here for me to enter into all of this resistance here at $6. Whereas if we go to the Arweave chart, which is again like not related to this news, but it looks very, very similar, right? We had this, super clean range. Personally was able to get in around $22 as we kind of revalidated, saw that correction on the trend line, and now it's just kind of chopping upwards. The render chart, not to go too rapid fire here, but I did just long the render chart, and I'll at least show you kind of why I prefer the render chart. It's just it hasn't moved in a big way yet, like Arweave and Near have. Right. So here we are with render. We have our, kind of the bottom of our range here. And we do need to be careful just to make sure, maybe if this could get swept, if we get a correction here. But if we zoom in here on the 4 hour, couple things happening. We have a trend line being broken, which I love to see. And I love to see a trend line being broken in spending time consolidating outside that trend line. A lot of times if you just shoot right up, you come back down to retest it and you're longing right here and then you're getting stopped out down here. It's not ideal. Not to say that this couldn't, kind of start dragging down this trend line and become a tougher trade, and not to say that there's not a little bit of resistance here that we still have to get through, but we haven't moved off the lows that much. We've got positive news coming out today on a otherwise down day in the markets, in all markets, right? So this is kind of being suppressed by some fear in the markets, right? Bitcoin not doing great today. Nvidia down quite a bit. S&P 500 down quite a bit. So it hasn't moved significantly off of the bottom, and it hasn't moved significantly off of this news yet, a couple percent, right? And we have this nice inverse head and shoulders here. So this is a trade that I actually like right now, quite a bit. Could it not pan out? Could it not move or move against us? Of course, there's always risk, but I don't see any, I don't see any reason that the risk reward here isn't quite positive. And I think this is something that, could probably move all the way back up to range highs. You're looking at potentially a 46% move if it just, moves back to this kind of $10 zone, which was prior support. So just beware. Hey, this, we're not out of the woods yet in crypto as a whole. The weakness in Nvidia, weakness in the S&P 500, weakness in even gold right now. So the markets as a whole could drag this thing down, but otherwise this looks fairly primed and has some good news behind it that could potentially push it higher. So I'm long. I can only say what I'm doing with my money, and the risks that I'm taking. Trade your own books at the end of the day.
Amen. Trading is all about TA is all about probabilities, right? Nothing's a certainty. So, interesting though. I still believe AI is a big narrative that you can still make a lot of money on. Near protocol, I think ICP, I think Arweave, Render, BitTensor. Although BitTensor kind of had that issue with the hack of their subnet, but still, it's something that again. AI, I'm curious to see how much effect that, and because you mentioned a few times Nvidia being down, what effect does that have on the crypto markets? It's interesting. Is it correlated at all? I'm not sure. I don't know if you have the answer for us, but I still think going into the end of this year and into next year and potentially for the foreseeable future, AI is going to be a massive talking point. And as crypto grows alongside the AI narrative, alongside the TradFi side of it with the AI, I think there's going to be a lot of projects where people can get can make a lot of money on that are currently very undervalued. Near protocol to me stands out. Again, ICP to me stands out. Near protocol, $6. Last cycle high of $22. I think $80 to $100 near protocol, as long as they continue to grow, their ecosystem continues to grow, everything that they've laid out on their roadmap comes to fruition. I think $80 to $100 near protocol is I don't want to say safe, but pretty. I feel pretty confident in that. Take a look at the rest of the markets here. We went over Bitcoin, ETH up 10% over the last 7 days, coming in at $3,400. We do have some ETF news on Ethereum that I'm going to share with you in a little bit. BNB 572, Solana under 160. As Forrest mentioned, the markets are kind of red today with Solana down 3%. But what is not red and what is not down is XRP. Up 6% on the 24-hour, the only one in the top 10 that is currently up. Also, the second largest gainer in the top 100. I did do an XRP video this morning, so that'll be coming out in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So make sure you watch that when it comes out. But XRP, Forrest, is kind of bucking the trend here. And then we have this headline here as well. XRP soars 40% in just 1 week, and data shows rise could continue. Do you mind showing an XRP chart for us then? And what's your thoughts on the current price action? And what do you think we see? Do you think we see a move up to that 80, 90 cents? Do you think we see a drawdown coming? Well, what is the chart saying?
Yeah, so sharing my screen here. I'm full disclosure, I'm disgustingly bullish on XRP, and that doesn't mean that it couldn't come back down, couldn't correct, but I mean, you don't get these kind of huge macro setups in crypto very often. If you look at, and we're sitting in a situation where we see both the backdrop of the fundamentals for XRP are really, really solid right now, and it's supported by a bullish chart. So before I get into the chart, just look at what's happening. Like XRP has been suppressed for a long time. Didn't even make an all-time high last cycle, in large part because it's been wrapped up in this SEC case. The SEC is dropping cases left and right. The regulatory, like Gary Gensler is getting pressured out. The Trump campaign is very likely to win. He's leading by 70% odds. Right. So if Trump gets elected, they are super pro crypto, and you're probably going to see a resolution of this SEC XRP case relatively soon. Whether, as long as it's a neutral or favorable outcome for XRP, I mean, it's probably going to go through the roof, and pump, just because it no longer has that overhang of being wrapped up in an SEC case where there's uncertainty as to what the resolution is. Right. So then we look at the chart, and we're on the weekly chart here. Weekly is pretty high time frame for crypto. We've seen this play out for XRP in the past, where you just have these symmetric triangles, this big wind up, this big coil up, right, on the weekly, and it leads to explosive markups, right? And this is something that I think a lot of people will probably, if they get in, they'll probably end up selling too soon. On a correction, when in fact I think this can mark up significantly. And just to kind of show an example, and this doesn't have the necessarily the coiling, which is the coiling here is much cleaner than what this Tesla setup was, but you have like a multi-year consolidation, and then the gains occur. Like Tesla didn't just run hard for like a very long period of time. No, it consolidated and then it marked up. And then it consolidated and you made nothing, right, for multiple years. And then it marked up and then you've made nothing for multiple years, right? And that's how XRP has essentially traded thus far. You make nothing for multiple years, you mark up, you have like a pretty long consolidation here, mid-bull market, and you mark up again. And now it's just been consolidating sideways, and it actually has some bullish catalysts coming down the line with regulatory and administrative changes. Administration changes, as well as like they're launching a stable coin as well. And we're seeing like this whole real world asset narrative, come to fruition. So look, I could be wrong on XRP, but the chart says violent move soon. And we've just bounced off the bottom. And then, if we want to talk about like mirroring past price action, we have this big, and I'll try to, make that a little cleaner and change the color so people can see. And it's even more apparent if you zoom into like the 3-day or whatever. But this big descending wedge that took price action below the trend line before this huge explosive move up, and we had the exact same thing that just happened. You had this nice descending wedge, right, that took price action below the trend line, and we violently revalidated it. I think a lot of people, if we take out 75 cents or so, these last two highs here, a lot of people are going to jump into this trade from a long perspective, and it's just going to accelerate up. I'm already long because XRP has been on my watch list. I've been, pounding the table saying XRP, it's been an underperformer, but you need to have it on your watch list because when this thing goes, it's probably going to go in a really big way. So as soon as I saw this, break out of this trend line here and revalidate this bottom trend line, I jumped in at 48 cents, pretty aggressively. So full disclosure, I'm long already on this, but I am looking for this to go higher, and I think this is something that could play out over the next couple of months. But I want exposure to something that moves very violently, and again, you don't get these violent markups very often. So when they do present themselves, I want to take that risk, right? Because I think this can move to a very high market cap, very high price. Like people scoff at the idea that this could move up to $17, and I think it could. It's not my main target. It's kind of on the higher end of my target, and then people do the math on it, like, oh, that would be a $900 billion market cap. Yeah, Nvidia is trading at like 2 trillion plus, right? Like in 2017, before crypto was even big, or 2016, this was like 30% dominance, 30% market dominance for XRP, and up here, this was 300 billion in 300 billion in 2017, when like I don't even think we had crossed a trillion market cap, or we were just barely, like Bitcoin was 19K. Bitcoin was 19K, like, and this was $300 billion in market cap. Like in a proper bull market, things can just get out of hand and mark up significantly. Do I think it's going to shoot up to 17 and stay there for a long period of time and consolidate there? No, it would be a blow off top situation where you'd get an 80-90% correction. But I think $17 is quite possible for a blow off top bubble situation where it just zips up to 17, and then you probably see it consolidate back down to like $2 in a bear market. That's how these markets move in bubbles. And I think people really sell themselves short and get surprised and caught off guard when they finally make this big move, and they just completely miss it. And I think we're in that time frame where you really got to be considering, what could possibly move in a really big way, and how do you get exposure, and how do you get a nice entry that's positioned well according to your risk thresholds. So I like XRP here. If it moves down, I just cut it. I'll be wrong. And I'll stop myself out, but already in a pretty decent profit. So, got wiggle room.
Look at the smile on that man. Look at the smile on that man's face. You made his entire day, Forrest.
No. The smile is seeing you when Forrest safe.
Look, I have XRP. So if it goes to $17, great, man. I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah.
My video I did earlier, I talked about much lower targets as far as the breakout. And I looked at the monthly chart, the weekly chart, and XRP against BTC. And I agree. I think there's going to be a big move. I don't know, $17. I'm not sure about that, but we've seen things. You say this all the time, Forrest. Hex got to 80 billion. I'm not going to write anything off. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in our community would be extremely happy if XRP got off to got to $17. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about Ethereum. So ETH ETF next week, July 23rd, should be going live. And then we have this. So SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce was on a podcast talking about ETH ETFs and staking. So this is from the Coinage podcast. This little clip here I want to share. Interesting what she says and what it could potentially mean for Ethereum and buyers of the Ethereum ETF.
Well, one piece that was dropped was staking, of course. That was removed from the applications earlier on. I wonder, reasonings for that, and whether or not any of that could change as we see these progress in the life of them being out there as products.
I think certainly something like staking is, or any feature of the product we saw that on the Bitcoin exchange traded products too, right? There were features of the product that some people would have liked to see included but weren't. And those are always open for reconsideration as far as I'm concerned.
Always open for reconsideration. Now, we've talked about a change in administration, right? The regulatory landscape becoming more favorable to crypto. Could we see potentially, maybe not under the Gary Gensler administration, but the next administration, the next SEC chairman, if staking gets reintroduced to the Ethereum ETFs, what do you think that would mean for inflows into the Ethereum ETF? Do you think it could potentially outpace that of Bitcoins now that people can either A, have a $0 or a 0% management fee for their holdings on ETH? Could it be some of those staking rewards being paid out as, let's just say, kind of like a dividend to holders of the Ethereum ETF? How much could this one thing, adding staking into the Ethereum ETF, how much could it change the potential trajectory of the success of the Ethereum ETF and the price ultimately?
Yeah, so I'm 99% confident that we will get staking as a feature on these Ethereum ETFs. And the reason why is because these ETF issuers, asset managers, BlackRock want this feature.
Yeah.
And the reason they want this feature is because it makes it more attractive for people to move their Ethereum into these ETFs and to buy these ETFs versus going out on the open market or on chain and buying ETH and then staking it themselves, right? Because if you like right now with the state of these Ethereum ETFs, you can buy the ETF, sure, or you could, move your money around, move your money on chain, or move your money to an exchange, and then you could buy ETH or staked ETH, or just buy ETH and stake it and earn an additional 3-4% per year. And we know that TradFi loves their yield. TradFi loves their 3 to 4% per year. So there's a very big disadvantage to just being in the Ethereum ETF if they can't stake. Well, BlackRock is going to obviously want to optimize for whatever makes their product the most attractive possible. And we know that BlackRock gets what BlackRock wants. BlackRock's going to pressure them to make Ethereum staking through these ETFs possible. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I am 99% confident that eventually we get it. And it, will make these ETFs more competitive with just staking your Ethereum, yourself, or through a staked Ethereum or, Lido or whatever. So yeah, I think it's very likely it could just take some time, especially if we get a change in administration that's friendly to crypto.
One big asset manager that has refused to give access to their clients with the Bitcoin spot ETF has been Vanguard. They're the second largest asset manager in the world, over $7 trillion. They also don't have a gold ETF. And their reasoning is because it doesn't generate revenue. Gold doesn't generate revenue. Bitcoin doesn't generate revenue unless you're a miner. Here, if we have an Ethereum product with staking, it does generate revenue. And could that be potentially the only ETF, crypto ETF, listed on Vanguard, the second largest? They're only $3 trillion behind BlackRock. I mean, $3 trillion is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But they're not like that far off, like a 10 trillion and 800 billion, right? They're like 70% of the way there. And if we can get a ETH ETF listing on a platform like Vanguard on top of BlackRock and Fidelity and all the other big players, I mean, this could be potentially massive for Ethereum. And I agree with you, Forrest. I'm also very confident that we'll see staking introduced because it doesn't make sense not to, right? It doesn't make sense not to. It secures the network. It makes your investment more secure, you can say, right? And then you can make your yield, your money. I agree with you. They love their yield. They love their dividends, right? Why are Pepsi or Coca-Cola and some of these other large companies, why do they continue to see large inflows? Because they pay good dividends. Microsoft pays good dividends. People make money every quarter. And so could we see something similar in the crypto markets? I definitely think we do. And I agree with you. BlackRock gets what BlackRock wants. We saw it with the Bitcoin ETF. We saw it with the Ethereum ETF when we all thought that chances were very slim. BlackRock, again, added another W to their list. Only one ETF application that's ever been denied out of over 570. That is a record that you don't want to bet against. Speaking of giants, financial giant State Street aims to get involved in the cryptocurrency market and create its own token. Boston-based financial services and banking giant State Street is reportedly exploring ways to process payments via blockchain by creating their own stablecoin and deposit token. A couple things here. So the proposed deposit token will represent customer deposits on a blockchain. Now, who is State Street? I wasn't sure how big they were, so I decided just to throw it in a Google. State Street is one of the largest asset management companies in the world with $3.7 trillion under management and $40 trillion under custody and administration in 2023. It is ranked 14th on the list of largest banks in the U.S. It operates globally in more than 100 geographic markets and employs around 43,000 people worldwide. In fiscal year 2022, State Street had one employee across 70 locations and $12.15 billion in annual revenue. They are looking to enter into the stablecoin and blockchain space. Forrest, how bullish is this? What are your thoughts? And what are some of the adjacent cryptocurrencies or adjacent investment opportunities that you can potentially use this to make money on?
Yeah, so the stablecoin sectors, Tether's, they're coming for Tether. Look, Tether.
Isn't
So
everyone coming for Tether?
they have State Street has what, four? You said 40 trillion or 4 trillion?
So the numbers here was 3.7
trillion under
trillion
custody.
under
Well,
management and 40 trillion under custody.
Yeah, and they only made $12 billion in annual revenue. Tether made $4 billion in Q1. $4 billion. So they made a third of what State Street made in the Q1 of 2024.
With like no overhead, pretty much.
With like 40 employees. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just like absurd. Being a dominant stablecoin is so absurdly profitable that the competition in this market is exploding. Ripple's launching a stablecoin. Obviously, you've got Circle and USDC, and you've got all these other players potentially coming. PayPal just launched a stablecoin. There's multiple banks now talking about potentially launching their own stablecoins. It's just so absurdly profitable to launch a stablecoin. You have very, very little overhead. It's very easy to do. It's just a smart contract, and then managing the money on the other hand, buying treasury bonds to earn your yield revenue. This is a space that's going to explode with competition. It's going to be really interesting to see how Tether fares, because Tether does have a very big moat in terms of they are the de facto stable coin for perps. If you want to buy Bitcoin perps or trade perpetuals, most of the volume is traded in USDT pairs, and that's why USDT has such high dominance. So yeah, very bullish for the space. The more stable coins that are on chain, obviously, the more money that can flow into crypto. So it's very, very bullish for Bitcoin and crypto in general, for more stable coins to be launched and more money to be moved on chain. Who's going to end up being the big winner here is, the difficult to tell. But I mean, like another thing here for Ripple, right? Ripple's launching their own stable coin, I believe, in Q3 here, right? Pretty soon. Could be a catalyst that breaks resistance. I don't know how State Street would do it, what chain they would do it on. But yeah, just shows that there's demand to move into the stablecoin space and compete in that space. So anybody who's in the stablecoin space, I'm pretty bullish on, as long as they can compete.
Not only bullish on everything you said, but from like a practical use. Like, I can send anyone money. You don't have to have a Zelle account or Venmo or whatever. I can send anyone money anywhere in a matter of seconds for extremely low fees. So it's very practical, right? As a business that accepts cryptocurrency as payment, all of our sponsors, a majority of them, we get paid in stable coins. And for me to have to go in, sell it for cash, lose some money there. Withdraw it to my account, lose some money there. Take it from the account, move it from one account to another account, pay bills. If I can just have one account, stable coins are in there, whether it's at my bank or at a cryptocurrency exchange, and then use that to pay my bills, use it to pay the rent here, use it to whatever. It's so much more practical and easy to use and cheaper and faster. It just makes complete sense on top of everything Forrest also mentioned. So very bullish, and nothing speaks, right? The universal language that everyone understands is money. And as Forrest mentioned, $4 billion in not revenue, but profit for the largest stablecoin issuer in the world, Tether, in one quarter. There's going to be large institutions and banks that see that and go, like, why are we not doing the same thing? PayPal got into the space, and now State Street is looking to do so as well. Then we have this piece of news. Donald Trump says he'll release his 4th NFT collection. The people want me to do another one. His wallet also wants him to do another one. And so we've had 3 so far. They've all sold out. Here comes number 4. You think this kind of takes away, like, a lot of our community, for us, and thanks to you, are exposed to the Trump meme coin token. Do you think this could potentially take some value, right, away, some market cap share away from that token and anything else related to Trump? if he does launch a fourth NFT, and what are your thoughts on this here again? Could this single-handedly revive the NFT space?
No, NFTs are pretty dead right now, I think. Yeah, I'm sure he'll sell these out, but I wouldn't. It's just they're so diluted right now. It's 4 collections. This is not something I'd bet on. You just increase the supply and demand, right? Increase the supply over and over and over again on these in the deadest of markets in related to crypto, and that's NFTs. Personally, won't be buying, but it'll be good good if he can raise some money there. I don't necessarily think it'll pull money away from the meme coin. I, going to remain exposed to the meme coin and probably fade these. Just based on more due to the fact that it's just NFTs are dead. I just don't want exposure to NFTs right now. If Ethereum's at $8,000-$9,000, and just goes on a crazy run, then I'll buy some NFTs in anticipation of the NFT market coming back. But for right now, NFTs are in a rough spot.
I agree with you. Ashley, will you be buying a new Donald Trump NFT?
No.
Why not?
Was I supposed to say yeah?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. So Ashley's not buying. I won't be buying either. But and I want to kind of I want to couple that here with this. So we're seeing a lot of switching parties, switching votes. You have a lot of people coming out in support of Donald Trump that maybe you thought would never do so. And one of them is Mark Andreessen, the founder of Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z. I believe they're the largest venture capital firm, venture VC company in the crypto space, saying he will vote for Trump because of crypto. And guys, remember, there are more crypto holders, right? More people in this country, more adults in the United States that have exposure to cryptocurrency than own dogs. And so this is a large sector that we know at least one side or a majority of one side has identified as very, very important for political success and getting voted into office. And it's just interesting to see the shift. And why am I even sharing this? Because this is so bullish for crypto, for Bitcoin, for adoption, for everything moving forward in our space, as not only does it have implications in the future as far as how politicians are going to position themselves, are they going to adopt a formal stance on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain, and what we're going to see heading into this election season, and what it would look like to, for the first time ever, to have an administration, a Senate, a House of Representatives that is open, bullish, and is looking to help the exposure and the growth of our space. It's exciting, and it's long overdue. And the people that have been diehard believers in our space, not just to make money, of course, we all want to make money, but this has got to be just a shot in the arm, a I told you so, you got laughed at, pointed at, clowned on by people around you. This has got to be validation. And it's just exciting to see what the next 6 to 18 months is going to look like without having to worry about, hey, can we launch in the US? Can we do airdrops in the US? Can we have stable coins? Can we have DeFi protocols? Without having to worry about an unelected bureaucrat like Gary Gensler coming after our company, spending all this money, raising all these funds. Imagine that. Imagine VC funds and companies and investors not having to worry about, if I invest in this startup cryptocurrency project that could potentially revolutionize some part of the financial system, I can invest in it and not have to worry about legal ramifications or the SEC or any other government agency coming in and shutting it down. What type of projects are we going to see? What dApps are we going to see? It's just very exciting. And I'm pretty sure, Forrest, you kind of share the same excitement, but anything you kind of want to add to this here?
I just think it's super bullish. I mean, like at this point, I mean, not it's hard not to like just get political, but crypto is just becoming a bigger and bigger political issue, right? And people that have been in this space for a long time and have sat through just almost unbearable drawdowns in the crypto markets with FTX, all of these things that should have been regulated against, and investors should have been protected against with FTX and Celsius and all these other things. And then you come in and get regulated, the positive things that are happening in the space get regulated to death. People are just sick and tired of it. And people who are exposed to crypto and the growth of crypto and the growth of technology in a big way, for a lot of people, that is their issue that they're voting on. They've become a single issue voter and vote in favor of crypto. And you've got one party that is just super pro crypto, and you've got one party that is, quite frankly, super anti crypto. And the latter can posture and try to change things at the last second, but they've been super anti crypto for the last 4 years. And people are sick of it because it affects the bottom line of their portfolio value and the bottom line of their net worth in a time that is very, very difficult, right? Inflation's through the roof, and people are struggling. And then on top of that, their crypto bags are being affected by, Gary Gensler going after his rampage and horrendous execution when it comes to regulation. So people are tired of it, and people will vote with their wallets. And right now it's showing in the polling numbers, to be quite frank. So yeah, bullish for crypto based on what's happening in the political space right now.
Yeah, I'm just taking a peek at the markets. Bitcoin's still at 64.5. I'm kind of trying to see if there's any news that broke, but I don't really see anything here. You had Vitalik Buterin come out and talk about, the political landscape with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. XRP news, we have Mantle doing their airdrop. And so it's just it's a good time to be in the space. Whether you have a massive portfolio that's worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, or maybe you just have a portfolio worth $1,000 or $500, you're ahead of the majority of the people that are going to be entering the space over the next 2 to 5 years. And the people that currently, maybe they got scared of price action, maybe they sold their portfolios. And so it's a good time to be here. And if you've been here for multiple cycles, what we've been talking about ad nauseum, right? And it might have sounded like, at some points in time, it might have sounded like a long shot, or it might have sounded like we're just spewing bullish rhetoric and this thing is going nowhere. If you can't, you can almost feel the shift. You can feel the narrative shifting from only criminals and Bitcoin's bad and whatever else people want to say, to now becoming more bullish, not just on a governmental level, but just on a narrative level from the average person as well. You couldn't have a conversation with someone about Bitcoin without them kind of smirking or scoffing or laughing at you. The tables are about to turn, and it's just going to be very, very, very interesting. So we're super bullish here. I know you're bullish for us, and that's all we got for today. Anything you want to add for us before I tornado us out of here?
No, just stay the course. I think we got good times ahead.
We got Rob joining us. We got Rob back tomorrow, and then on Friday is going to be an absolute banger. We have James Seifert, the ETF analyst from Bloomberg, will be joining us. Talk about the Bitcoin ETF flows. We'll talk about the Ethereum ETF. What should we expect from inflows? We'll see if James can give us some insight. We'll also have Forrest joining us as well. So it's going to be an absolute packed show on Friday. Again, XRP video drops in about 1 hour. Some targets to look out for there. And so if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're subscribed. Ping your notification bell. And Rocco, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you had a great time watching the show. Make sure to come back tomorrow. Same place, same time. On behalf of all of us here, Sin City Crypto, we love you guys. Until tomorrow. Peace.
Sin City Crypto, everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.